This is not an MP7, but it is an eagerly awaited product from H&K. I'm Chris with Jerry'sOutdoorSports.com, and this is the CC9. HK has been the subject of a lot of videos on this channel, and they take up a large portion of the shooting industry psyche. I think we all knew this was coming from them even before we knew it as the CC9. That's not to say that HK has ignored the compact market. In fact, they introduced the VP9SK and the P30SK, but those came into a world of Smith Shield, Sig P365, and Glock 43s. And I think we all just kind of collectively shrugged at the chop top P30 and VP9s. If you like content like this, then you're going to love our giveaways, like this Browning X-Bolt and 6.5 PRC with a Leica scope. If you want a chance to get this, then follow the link tree in the description. If you want to support the channel directly, then visit our physical store or our web store for all of your Freedom Seed needs. Also, make sure to follow us on X and Facebook, where we post specials and I post memes that will eventually get me fired. The CC9 is different. It's not just an evolution of an existing platform for H&K. They actually started from the ground up and did their homework on it. It's 18.5 ounces and comes in just a hair over 6 inches in length, but one of the most impressive stats on it is the width. It's coming in at 0.99 inches wide. The only thing more impressive than that is the lengths that H&K went to make this lefty friendly. You've got slide releases on both sides, and gone is the paddle mag release from older platforms. Instead, we have push buttons on both sides again. If you're a lefty, then stop watching this video and just go out and try one of these. I defy anyone to find a more lefty-friendly micro compact than the CC9. The CC9 has texturing on the front, back, and sides of the grip, and it has a minuscule finger groove. Does this change my opinion about finger grooves? No, they all suck, but this one's pretty innocuous. I wouldn't mind if the texturing was a bit more aggressive, but on a cold, rainy day at the range, I never felt like it wasn't secure in my hands. We do have cocking serrations both front and back. Now, these could stand to be a little bit more aggressive. I did have a few slips on those here and there on that same cold and rainy day. But I get that HK just didn't have much material to work with on account of how insanely slim this thing is. I mean, seriously, the CC9 is heroin model thin. The trigger on the CC9 is not a shining point for me. It's not that it's terrible, and fast groups are absolutely achievable with it. It's just that it has a long take-up. It has about 7 millimeters of travel before you come to a nice wall that does break clean at about 5 to 5 3/4 pounds. I just wish it broke sooner. That being said, accuracy wasn't hard, and zeroing the red dot was not a problem at all because getting good groups wasn't a challenge with it. The CC9 is optics cut. It comes with an RMSc footprint on there, and within minutes of getting it, I affixed my Holosun Ronin Tactics EPS green dot on there. And after a few rounds, this happened. I managed to find one of the screws as soon as the sight came off, and it looked like the threads had not made full engagement and had given way. So I called HK and confirmed that they were indeed M4 screws. I used the screws provided with the Vortex Defender and secured the Vortex for the rest of the testing. I'm still not sure where the issue is, whether it's with the CC9 or with the screws, but I will grant that Holosun has been known to have some QC issues with their screws. The sights on the CC9 are an absolute drag. The rear is blacked out and serrated, and the front has a tritium vial in there. Now, if you think a tritium vial increases accuracy in low or no light fights, good for you. I'm sure the argument whether a duck or a witch weighs more fills your thoughts regularly. The real problem is that they're just too low. Neither of the optics that I used would get a co-witness with it, and a lower 1/3 co-witness is an absolute necessity for me. Seriously, a 1/3 of a millimeter would have made all the difference here. This is one of the best recoiling micro compacts on the market. Double taps at 10 yards came in at about 2 inches for me regularly, and extended strings of fire made me feel like I had a much bigger handgun in my hand. There's some really special Kraut Space Magic that's actually going on in here. The CC9 got every last second of love it needed from the H&K Mages Guild. And if Ernest Langdon could crawl around in here and shine up a few things for me, mostly the trigger, it'd be just about perfect. The CC9 comes with a length of rail up front so that you can throw a light on there if you want, albeit a very small light. And the trigger guard is pretty generous, so even with light gloves it's going to be acceptable. The slide releases were easy to hit, but I did notice that I would be riding them slightly once in a while and not having it go into slide lock. But with a few minutes of retraining on the range, this became less of a problem. The CC9 comes with 2 magazines. One's a 12-round magazine with a finger rest for your pinky. The other is a flush fit 10-round mag. I found the flush fit mag to be pretty much worthless because my pinky would just slide off of there. And that 12-round with the finger cut made all the difference. In my last video on H&K, I wasn't the kindest with my words about them. And yes, I will admit that when the CC9 was announced, I had my concerns. I don't like to disparage systems, but I'm not about to lie about their capabilities either. Luckily, H&K didn't disappoint with the CC9. I loved the 1990s H&K that was wild and crazy and turned heads, but the CC9 is just a reliable, solid offering that has just enough of that Kraut Space Magic. If they were to drop a CC9L that had a 15-round magazine and an extra half-inch of barrel, I'd probably get on board with one. The CC9 was what H&K needed to release to remind us of who they were. Or, I don't know, they could finally give us an MP7. Anyway, I'm Chris with Jerry'sOutdoorSports.com, and I'll see you next time.